charge of obstruction.
Realistically, the results were something that I was anticipating. This whole time, the Democrats have been using the Mueller report as a way to deflect from the progress that the administration has been making in its first 2 years. I think for a long time, this was really just a reaction on the Democrats' part to the negative outcome in their minds to the election. And they realized that it wasn't the result that they wanted. So they used the Mueller investigation as a way to vilify this president, when realistically, there was very little evidence that resulted from this 2 years of investigation and millions of taxpayer dollars.
I didn't know any of these details, but now we understand that George Papadopoulos was having contacts with a foreign professor, that Paul Manafort was giving polling data to Russian, that Carter Page was setting up meetings with Trump and Putin, and I mean, Roger Stone and Jerome Corsi knew exactly when these WikiLeaks documents were going to come out. So it was important to uncover all these facts, but what was the end result? We didn't get anywhere that was productive for the party with it. So, you know, that's where the disappointment sets in.
People are kind of more interested in the tabloid kind of headline scandals, especially in the age of social media. A lot of young people, they kind of have a vendetta against Donald Trump and this administration, but they aren't having broader discussions about how the fact that there was no conspiracy or collusion is good news for the United States and our institutions as a whole. So I think that the focus should somewhat pivot more in that direction.
The fact that the investigation happened, I think, was based on a lack of evidence and essentially warrantless claims. But I understand the mindset that it came from, which is, again, wanting to promote that integrity in our government. I think that now that it's done, though, we need to accept the results and move forward.
Do you think this trend is going to you think it's going to get better, or do you think it might get worse because, you know, social media is, you know, becoming more and more part of people's lives now? Young people now, there are people now that have grown up with Twitter and Facebook and literally can't imagine a life without it.
I think this is going to be a positive trend for information, but a negative one for politics. Because if we think about the opportunities for previous administrations or previous opposing parties of a president to further a narrative the way that the Democrats have with President Trump, the previous citizens of the United States, again, had to just rely on those one or two narratives that were being pushed by the press corps. And the Democrats in this situation wouldn't have the same support that they do now for, say, these calls of impeachment, because the ability to spin that narrative out of a report that really didn't have any conclusive findings just wouldn't be there.
I think the diversification of media in general is good for transparency. You can read the whole Mueller report on your cell phone, right? I don't think that was fully possible obviously during the Watergate scandal or even in more recent scandals. But of course, the other thing is people can kind of pick their outlets really easily. They can pick their narrative. I think young people are becoming more intelligent about the way they consume media. With the uptick in engagement with alternative news websites, you've also had more engagement with fact-checking websites. So there's a boom in those kinds of resources, which I think is good.